Hi, welcome to another great MyHana webinar, so to speak. I'm Sandra Alexander. I'm a speech therapist, and my son's also on the spectrum. So here's some tips to avoid homework horror. These are help and accommodation tips that hopefully will take the horror and stress off of homework for you. So let's see where to begin here. You have to know the purpose of homework. So some students love homework and some can complete it with no difficulty. They just love it. But many students, whether they're on the spectrum or not, really don't like it. And we all know who we've been. So it can be an overwhelming challenge and we need to look into it. But children with autism who struggle with homework have other unique challenges, which we will be discussing. So it may be obvious, but what is the purpose of homework? And does your school have a policy about homework? Who's giving it, how much they need to do it, or is it at the discretion of each teacher, or is it an administrative kind of policy? You should know that. So you need to figure out why homework is a challenge. It could be the content of the work. It could be executive functioning, which is planning what to do first, which can be very paralyzing for somebody on the spectrum. Just making a decision where to start can freak a person out. It often can freak out my son, for example. Difficulty with being independent with work. Is it related to medication? So maybe they're tired because their medication has run out. Maybe they need more. Maybe they can't get settled down. Are there behavioral challenges? Are they mentally exhausted from school and can't do it? So if your child's overwhelmed with homework, you're going to be overwhelmed. So you got to figure out which variable's causing the problem. And obviously it can be more than one, but then you can attack the variable. So remember, homework is supposed to be a review of things that your child learns in school. It shouldn't be brand new to them. Sometimes the content's too difficult, and that needs to be addressed with the teacher. If your child may show the teacher, well, they got it at school, but they can't do it at home, that can be a problem of what's called generalization. In other words, the child can do something in one setting, but they get to another setting and they can't. And that is an actual indicator of needing extra help or having a more severe cognitive issue that can be worked on, but that is generalization. So the content may be not appropriate, too high, too low. Is your child struggling with time management or feeling overwhelmed by having to get it done by a certain time? And they can be independent at home or not at school or vice versa. So sometimes your kids are on medication and it helps them function in school, but you don't use it at home, and now they're not functioning at home. So you may need to use medication at home. You may have to check that variable out. So many also parents with children with autism have other problematic behaviors. And they're not exhibited at school, but let's say the child's worked real hard to keep it together and they let themselves kind of go at home. Or there's more distractions and the TV's on and you're busy. It's a whole different setup, as you know. So all of these variables can be in the way, so to speak. And also your child may be just mentally exhausted from being in school using their brain and might need a break. So now we're going to try to solve the problem. Remember, like I said before, homework is for review of things that they know. You can have your homework be time limited, have an extra set of books at home, agree on a modified grade for homework, schedule homework at a specific time and place at home. All teachers should coordinate the homework so one's not giving more than another, or they're not all coming at you with the same due date for a bunch of different assignments. You could have a no homework weekend or have no homework or have homework completed in the school setting. So looking at the variables, you figure out what the problem is, and then you try to find out strategies to solve them. All the tips that I've suggested, which I'll go into a little more, aren't in any order of importance. What's important is what you figure out that works for your kid, and that's what you attack. So, for instance, some students with autism excel in specific subject areas. and let's say they're really good in math, well, then they shouldn't have to do math homework at home if they can get it done at school. You can keep the homework to areas that they're struggling on, for example. Some parents find out that their child will complete homework if it's time limited. So if you say, well, you've got 45 minutes, and if your child's capable for working for 45 minutes and they know that it'll be done, they might get right to it. Another simple solution could be for the student who's disorganized, have an extra set of books at home. Also, the importance of homework can be dependent on how much it affects your child's grade. And you can discuss with the school, could they take the pressure off? Maybe put less weight on getting the homework done for the grade, or having it be pass-fail rather than A, B, or C, or not have it count as part of the grade. Also, many students with ASD benefit from having structure and predictability, as you know. So having specific, consistent time and place for homework, that can help a lot. There should be an optimal place with less distractions at a time where you know that they're also functioning at their best at home. And I know that'll take some experimenting to figure out. Having work materials readily available, that's going to help. So as your child gets older and gets to middle school and high school, you'll have more than one teacher, and they might have more than one, obviously, type of homework from different teachers. The teachers should collaborate, and that could be in the IEP, about how much homework is being given. And it can be in different subject areas. And there might be some days of the week where they don't need to do homework, depending on what's going on with projects and things. Also, to reduce the stress, the homework doesn't have to be 7 days a week. You could have them do it during the week, but not on the weekend. That could be a motivator for lots of kids. Also find out if there's a time or a place in school where they could do some of their homework at school. Some students go to study skills class. Well, you can do the homework then, or even go to the resource room, and that could help, or go to a homework club. Another way to solve the problem is modify the homework, help your child get started, allow for an alternate response format, which I'll get into, get a homework helper, use a calendar for projects, and secure a highly preferred reward for completion. So modifying homework would be to reduce the stress. With this strategy, your child can have homework in all subject areas, but with less amount in each area. For example, having to complete 50% of the math if they have, let's say, 3 pages, a page and a half, for example. Commute homework is only assigned in certain targeted areas, which we've mentioned. For some children, the thought of doing the homework will paralyze them, and that is really true. They get frozen. I hear that. So if this is happening for your child, have a plan to give him help to get him started. You can sit with him, don't do it for them, but help them get started so they can get over the paralyzation hump, so to speak. And then you can have a checklist of the expectations of what they need to get done, so that could help reduce the anxiety. If you have a child that can't write very well, and this is my situation, you can often have them dictate responses and you write it for them, or ask the teacher, can he keyboard it, which happens a lot now anyway, or can they speak it and then send it as a sound file to the teacher, so teacher knows this came from the child, but they couldn't write it because the stress of writing causes a breakdown. For instance, in my case, when we do math, and we homeschool in our case, but when we do math, my son will solve the problems and tell us how to do them, but we write that out, because if we put the writing on top of it, it breaks down because of the OT challenges. And the thought of writing can be overwhelming. So that always helps as well. And if you cannot work with your child because it's emotionally too hard for you and them, and this just isn't working, get somebody else to help you. It could be a peer. It could be somebody at school. You could hire a tutor if you need to, if you get the right person, and it can be done. But if you can't do it and there's too much stress on both of you, then it makes the problem worse. And you can ask the school if there's anybody who can help with the homework, and then you can worry about the other major issues with just raising a child with ASD, not get stuck in the weeds on how to do math with them. So also, according to the principle, if you're doing applied behavioral analysis, having a reward will help a child do their work. So you can help, it helps them be motivated, to increase motivation for your child to complete their homework. Select a preferred reward and say, when you do this, you get that. For example, if you get through your schoolwork, you get to go ahead and watch the basketball game. You know, you get the picture. So the keys to success is parent-teacher communication and IEP-driven modifications and supports, okay? So you need to talk to the teacher. And if that's a lot, that's fine. You really need to talk about it, because the teacher is seeing a different child possibly, or a different aspect of things than you are at home. It's, you know, we need the big picture. You need to talk. It's important to be open about what struggles or what you're seeing that's working or not working. So the teacher can also assist you with that. So you're both doing the same things and the child knows what to expect. So work with your teacher. In circumstances where there's more than the typical homework support that's being necessary, you can have those modifications put into the IEP to be included. It makes it official, and you make sure that they do it too. So you could say, you can put down that your child will have somebody, for example, take notes for them or write an assignment if they have to use handwriting. Put it in the IEP, it's official, and then you need to make sure it's happening so that your child's less stressed about it. So it could be changed at any time during the year. Remember, you're in the driver's seat of the IEP. Don't be passive, okay? So once again, thank you for listening to this great MyHana presentation. I'm Sandra Alexander. See you again.